It's a whole new week, several new discussion topics selected by you, a whole new conversation. Welcome back to 360 Speed. Hello, come on in. Welcome to episode 21, would you believe already? Hope all is good with you. Hope you've had a good week and that you're keen and raring, as we are, to tackle our latest Speedway discussion offering made especially for you. Let's start then, as we are accustomed to doing, by introducing this week's lineup of Speedway punditry excellence. How about that? First up, he's just about reached the end of what's been a tough old season for his Scunthorpe Scorpions side. Time to reflect, time to look forward. All as part of the 360 Speedway team. Big respect for Simon Lambert. Welcome back to the hot seat, Simon. Next up, he's back for more. He made his 360 debut 1 week ago. In between times, he's been trackside at Vauxhall and excited for the Witches playoff push. Welcome back, Lawrence here. And finally completing this week's lineup, man of many clubs, man of many memorable moments. It's a 360 return for our Robbo, Stuart Robson. Welcome back, Stuart. Collectively, this week's Handlebar heroes. And let me state out loud the usual disclaimer that all of the views, all of the opinions expressed are those of ours as individuals and in no way relate to any clubs that we currently or formerly had associations to. There we go. Right, let's crack on then with the first. Well, in fact, just before I do that, another huge thank you. We may not quite yet begin all of the thumbs up, the default thumbs up that we would like on whenever you watch back one of our episodes on our YouTube channel. So if you would please just get into the habit of that. Very small action is a huge one as far as YouTube channels go, and it will just help to propel 360 Speedway out into the YouTube and social media stratosphere. So just that little thumbs up button, if you get into the habit of doing that a little bit more often for us, is a powerful action. Thank you for that. All right, another new week, another new conversation. If you are sitting comfortably, let's now get stuck into episode 21. Okay, so we are once again on interview mode this week, speaking to a guy that I personally found rather fascinating, and I don't mind saying that out loud, knowing that he can hear me. His general enthusiasm for the sport has seen him become a rider, a sponsor, and now I'm going to describe him as a subject matter expert in something that we did previously touch on way back in episode 9 many weeks ago, here to inform and educate us all in the promise of e-speedway and its potential contribution to the sport. It is the pie man, the TV apprentice, the uber likeable Paul Bowen. Good evening to you, Paul. Thanks for giving up time to come and talk to us on 360 Speedway.
Thank you for having me.
Paul, listen, I'm calling you subject matter expert on e-speedway, and maybe in the course of the next 20 minutes or so, you will prove that. I'm sure you will prove that as being absolutely fact. Let me start by saying, Paul, more generally, I personally work in business change, and I know firsthand that generally speaking, the majority of people find change of any description in life or employment quite unsettling. They find it threatening, and sometimes it's something they automatically will try to resist. Is what I've just said out loud something that resonates with you, Paul, when you talk to Speedway enthusiasts about introducing something that's quite alien to us?
100%. Obviously, I'm not sheltered. I do understand that what I'm gaining for, a lot of people are just dead against it. Obviously, we all know what the argument is, which is the sounds and the smells, and obviously for people growing up with Speedway, that for them is a change that's just not thinkable. So it is hard, like you said, to get across a good change that could potentially, I would say, save the sport.
Paul, just to fill us in on some background, a lot of supporters now have some awareness of you and your affiliation to your support of e-speedway as a concept. But how did Paul Bowen become sort of hooked on that notion?
Well, basically, I used to have a YouTube channel powered by pies. Still quite good. Used to do quite a few, and I saw obviously mega into speedway. I saw in Denmark there is a company called e-racing, and they've set up this speedway bike as electric. And I said, please, can I come over and ride your bike? Can you put us up? They're like, yeah, Paul, come on over, come and see what we're about. And it's very rarely I do this, but I went over there and I just fell in love with the passion and the project of e-speedway. Now, what you've got to remember, what I'm promoting, and I think a lot of people get miss what this e-racing is about, is youth development. So it's a youth bike that's developed for kids under 14. And I just saw it as the future for youth speedway, and I just fell in love with it. The guys are really passionate. Ended up coming back, had a bit of a think, ploughed some money at it, and I actually brought e-racing. I've got a couple of bikes, and I brought it to the UK. I did that. We did a race at Scunthorpe, very successful. But unfortunately, since that point, I have no longer been able to get a bike on track. And yeah, that's where we're currently at the moment.
Thank you, Paul. I'm good. We will come to talking about trying to get bikes on tracks and maybe some of the issues and the challenges that you've been faced with. But I'm sure if we had long enough to talk, you could identify a multitude of reasons why e-speedway might have some advantages over traditional speedway. But off the top of your head, Paul, what would you... Let's identify potentially the top 3 issues or the top 3 problem statements that you believe that e-speedway might be able to some extent at least address for the sport.
Obviously, the one is, although it's the one we love the most, is the noise. Sadly, the UK is in a place now where there are umpteen housing estates. There's less and less places to build noisy areas. We know residents don't like noise. E-speedway solves that instantly. Although it's a hindrance for the fans, and I get that it doesn't make a noise, for the general public, we have more opportunity to ride. So we can open more tracks potentially. Secondly, we have maintenance. There is zero maintenance on an electric motor. People of today, unfortunately, you spoke about it the other episode about maintaining your bike. Sadly, that skill has gone. There's a lot of parents that don't have a clue what a spanner is or what an oil is, what oil changes are. This eliminates it and allows kids to have adults that know very little about bikes and be able to bring their child or, to speedway and ride a speedway bike without little knowledge. A little bit as almost like riding a push bike. The last thing really, that would be the 2 main ones. Probably the last one I would probably just say again is just ease of being able to ride whenever you want, wherever you want, and having that option to ride multiple days in the week and cause very little upset. That would probably be me.
No. Thank you, Paul. And I perhaps anticipated that those would be the key issues. I've obviously done a bit of reading and anticipated that maybe those would be the kind of big hitting benefits of going in the direction of e-speedway. Can I just ask a couple of questions just around the noise abatement and the cost reduction piece? So you've mentioned if you look at the overall shrinkage of British Speedway over the last few decades, there are more clubs have closed than there are that are still running today. I think is factually correct, and it must tell us something. It must tell us the potential direction of travel. Not all of that, of course, will be attributable to noise issues, but as you've alluded to, Paul, to try and arrest that decline and reopen former tracks or open new venues, noise pollution is going to be a huge planning consideration, isn't it? So, I guess when we did touch on e-speedway earlier in the year, I did talk about the scenario where if it was e-speedway or no speedway, then that's quite a predicament that speedway could realistically find itself in, Paul. Is I guess what I'm trying to say, and I'd imagine that you would suggest, you would recommend, you would ask all supporters of speedway to be much more open-minded to that prospect.
100%. I know it's not going to be the same, and I know that. I think people think that I go around hugging trees. I am under no illusion that it's not as good as hearing a 500cc bike. But what you've got to remember, imagine for a second you grew up in an e-speedway era. Yeah. You didn't have a clue at what 500cc was. You would not care that it didn't make a noise because you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Secondly, has anyone ever gone to a football match and thought, I wish the goalpost made some noise and started screaming? The atmosphere of fans is so much different, and would that take it up? Would be my suggestion. If the fans that usually have a voice, Simon's probably fans shouting at him and whatnot. Imagine that riding around the track, fans knowing that the riders can hear him.
Yeah.
Would you shout more? Would you get involved more? Would the atmosphere be better? Is there a reason why cycling and football, two sports that make no noise, have more fans and more wilder fans? I would say.
Yeah. No, that's quite thought provoking stuff. Listen, I'm getting on in years now, but I'm big enough to admit out loud that possibly, I would resist change to its current form. Of course I would, but that's because this is the only form of speedway that I've known in my whole lifetime. If I was to be able to walk into in future 10 years from now, walk into a stadium where there was 5,000 enthusiastic supporters watching e-speedway, that doesn't sound too bad to me either, to be honest. Paul, what about a couple of episodes ago we did a bit of a focus on standardisation with a view to making life easier for speedway riders, to reducing costs for speedway riders and for clubs, and potentially even reflecting that at the turnstiles. We came to the conclusion, rightly or wrongly, that there wasn't very much that could be done that was going to make such a significant saving that would ripple down like that. The one thing that we probably failed to touch on, though, was what you're proposing, and just how durable, just how cost effective, just what difference might that make to even a young speedway rider not to have the overhead of servicing, etc.
We've done the maths on a speedway, on electric speedway bike, compared to which at the current it equates to what is the 140s now, and in 2 years you will have paid for the bike with parts that you would not have to replace. So that's oils, pistons, gearboxes, clutches, internal change, valves, all the service bits that come with a normal motor versus a battery. You just take them away. Air filters, the lot. Simon will let you know. Simon, how long does it take you to prep your bike properly?
Start to finish, 5-6 hours.
Right, take it away. Gone.
Yeah.
Wash it. And that's another thing that I think, as a rider, Simon will say, it is a pain in the arse. 5 hours out of your day.
When you score 10, it's not so bad. But when you have a bad night, it doesn't even warrant a bike wash.
You know what I mean? Imagine just washing it, lubing the chain up, and going home and having a beer. That sounds like enjoyable to me. And do you know what I mean? That is the difference with the maintenance. There is zero maintenance. It's a sealed unit. See you later.
Listening to that, even to the relatively uninitiated like me, who's never had to strip down a bike, or wash down a bike, or maintain a bike. You know, it sounds well worth considering, right? Well worth examining. Simon, just because you've got the mic just now, what's your top of the head views, opinions, support generally for the prospect, Simon?
I like it, mate. Like, my lad's got a Revy bike, you know, and he thinks he's blooming world champion on it because he can hang off the back like Bartos. He can go as where he wants. He can go when he wants. Do you know what I mean? He's been brought up with the bikes, and he just jumps on it and goes around the yard. I've got a pretty big yard where I live. He can go up the road to my mum and dad's on it, and he's brilliant. Like, I get what you say about the noise, but with all these fans, obviously, like football matches, you get your hooligans, you get this, you get that. Speedway's not like that, so that would save issues. But I just think you could get an acre or two of grass from a bit of land from a farmer. You've only got to mark your track. It hasn't even got to be on shale, has it, Paul?
No, you could do it.
So,
on
I believe, like, you know, we say there's not enough meetings in England now as it is. And I think Speedway is an expensive sport to go watch now. It's a £10-15 sport. You could get a couple of acres on hire for a few months, build a track pretty cheap, and have a good DJ. He'll make the noise for you and a bit of entertainment in between the meeting. And I think if you've got 16 bikes, in my opinion, that are all like sealed, it's not so much about the bikes, it's about the rider as well. And you can put a good show on. You put a show on how you want to do it. Like, but for the youth, I mean, some of these lads nowadays in the National League, there's a couple of them. I know they're in the National League, so they're just over 14, but they've got these bloody Hashtech engines with cargo boxes and that. And I'm like, Jesus, your engines are worth more than mine. And your National League standard, and some of them are not even going to ever make Championship standard. And I just find it mind-blowing. And yeah, I don't know what the cost of a bike is, but noise or no noise, at the end of the day, British Speedway is in trouble, and I'll back you, Paul, but I'm not going to start hugging trees with you.
Robbo, listen, Robbo, I'll be fascinated by your views on this. You've ridden Speedway, you were around the sport for much of your life. You know, are you more intrigued and supportive of what Paul, the virtues of e-speedway that Paul's promoting, or are you a little bit hesitant and a bit nervous about the prospects, Stuart?
No, I'm all for it, really. It's kind of, at the moment, it seems to be the way the future's going, isn't it? Everything's they're trying to go electric with a lot of stuff. So, like my daughter, like Simon's little boy, my daughter's got a Revy as well. She's and she's got an electric motocross bike. She's never ridden an actual engine bike. So, yeah, I mean, I've already gone in that direction with my eldest daughter, and my youngest will probably follow suit if she wants to ride a bike, that is, and she'll go on electric. So I can't knock it until I tried it, really. I've never seen it, but it would definitely be interesting to go and see, and maybe even have a go at some point.
Lawrence, what about yourself, Lawrence? What's your awareness? What's your top of the mind sort of view of the prospect of introducing him and going in the direction of e-speedway?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it probably could well rest on sort of necessity, is where the whole world's going, you know. I mean, I'm not that much of a fan of the EV cars and that sort of thing. And I don't think really it's probably going to work in the long run, or the answer, you know, and to get everyone to change is the whole thing's a massive can of worms. But with Speedway, we've got so many, as you know, you guys have all touched on, we've got so many restrictions and tracks closing down and noise and that sort of thing. You know, you can ride one of these things anywhere, and I mean they look really trick. You know, they're and the low maintenance and everything. They got so much more going for it. You're going obviously swimming against upstream sort of thing, and you're never gonna, as you say, Paul, you're never gonna convince a lot of the purists and the old school, but if we will go along the lines with some people, predicted with this carbon taxes and all these carbon credits, that sort of thing, as some places are keeping in countries, we could be necessity might deem that they may be the answer, that or no speedway. So yeah, I'll be interested. Have you anyone sort of any riders had a go on them yet? Tried them and
Yeah, we had young Seth. He went and did the amateur race, and I put on an e-racing meeting. We had a young lad, and he won all his heats. Came from the back, and he comes second in the final. So it just proved that it was a bike that could be beaten, but it could also be competitive. And it was a good bike, I thought, and a very competitive bike.
And what about like those who, I suppose one aspect of it could be that they could all be, pretty much the same level, that sort of thing. Is there anything you can alter, or is your lengths, chain lengths and that to gain an advantage, that sort of thing? Because obviously setups now is so important in normal racing.
Yeah, so with the bikes, there's around 2,000 settings in total that you could run. So you can choose how quick it accelerates, you can choose what its max speed is, you can choose how long it spins for, you can choose what your engine braking does, you can choose your throttle delay. There are so many different settings that you can do. And the beauty of having all these settings on an app and what have you, there is a programmed torque limit. So we can say, right, today, boys, you're on a 30 brake horsepower limit, or what we call kilowatts. You're on 30 kilowatts. That is the limit. You say, I think Simon's cheating tonight. No problem. Plug in. Yep, Simon's cheating. You're out. There's no checking engines or anything like that. It is literally, we can lock in a machine and see what everyone's doing. So it's a fair advantage across all bikes.
And how do they react? Like if you say you were going hard with one of these things and you hit a bit of dirt, how would it? Because obviously you haven't got the momentum, the flywheel momentum to.
Yeah.
Would it kill it? Would it stand up on end or?
It's a little bit different in the fact that, like I say, you've got to remember this is not a 500cc motor. So it hasn't got the same power. So if, like Simon rode it, for instance, he would say it's underpowered because it's based at the 140s at the moment. We can work up to a 500, but the idea of starting at the 140s was to sort of sneak into Speedway and work up. Because like we said, the purists, we're not after a 500 now. We're on about getting kids into Speedway.
That's what it's about. Oh.
Yeah. And it's funny you mention both your two children riding electric bikes. My question to most of you guys is, how did you get into Speedway? I would say majority of people's answer is, my dad took me when I was a kid. Your kids ride an electric bike. What are they going to grow up to?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's such a fascinating subject, and I think, Paul, it feels like you've got sort of four thumbs up from us guys tonight, right? And I think though,
how many bikes you got, Paul? Two.
I've got a big wheel, I've got a small wheel built, just wants a few little bits, and then I've got a spare motor. So I've potentially got 3 bikes.
Have you thought about just an idea, maybe like renting Leicester out on the mini tracks there? Because I think it's great what Glasgow have done, what Leicester have done. Obviously, Scunny have got their mini track to learn on, but you go to Glasgow now, you go to Leicester now. They've got the mini track in the middle. It's like, I've always said this to my lad: any idiot can go flat out straight in a straight line. When you get to that corner, brakes or no brakes, if you don't turn, mate, it's going to hurt.
Yeah. Well,
you go on them little tracks, it might be worth hiring it out and just having a bit of an open day, letting people come and chuck you some money and have a go. I'd love these keyboard warriors to come and have a go. Trust me, I would.
Well, I say you've seen a lot of the clips. Obviously, I've got one full demo, which I take out every now and again. To be honest, part of me stopping, which is because the bike was actually banned from a lot of tracks. That was with the SCB and the ACU. Kind of communications have broke down. And I'll be honest with you, you've not seen a lot of me for the past sort of year because I got sick of fighting. Do you know what I mean? This is a good thing I'm trying to do. And I've almost got to think now, am I going to push this e-speedway, which I'd love to do. I'd love to help the kids out. And I'd at least love the opportunity to give it a go. There's a lot of roadblocks in the way at current. Do I get these motors? Do I stick them in a motocross bike? And do I just say goodbye to the whole thing? I'd love to do what you're saying, Simon, but I do need support from SCB and the ACU.
I mean, Paul, I don't know if you're in a position, and if you're not, obviously, I'm not expecting you to say anything about it, but you've talked about some issues, some blocks that you've come up against, some resistance. Are these, in your opinion, easily surmountable?
Yeah. So a lot of the sort of dangers or the sort of worries of the governing bodies is funny what you said, Robert. A lot of people relate them to cars. I don't know why. I don't know what they see electric cars and electric bikes as the same. The bikes have got more in common with a cordless drill than they have an electric car. It would take 30 bikes to be equivalent to a car, and don't forget a car has seats and all that kind of jibber jabber. And then there's also this crazy sort of thing that they're just going to burst a light. You've seen 2 cars in the news burst a light, and all of a sudden there's going to be batteries burning a light.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why this is a thing, but apparently it's a thing. I always say, well, where do you keep your phone at night? Is it close to your bollocks? Yes. So you can't really be scared of batteries, can you? So it just tends to be the safety aspect seems to be a really big blocking point. And I think it's just the unknown. I think it's because, we've been trying, and I've been in touch with Stark as well, which you'll know is a very large motorcycle company. And it seems to be that the main battling is there's no lie, the SCB is, probably got the average age of 60, 70. They don't know anything about electrics.
Yeah.
I believe they've brought people in or bringing people in to sort of, bridge that gap. And I'd love to bridge that gap. But I think that just because they don't have enough knowledge, and I understand they don't have enough knowledge, and they don't just want to say, yeah, Paul, you crack on, and then something happens.
That's like saying we can't have a clutch cooler though anymore.
Exactly. And, I don't want to, point out the obvious, but, Speedway, it is a highly flammable substance that burns invisible.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get that there is, security measures, and them security measures need to be met. However, I think there needs to be some slack.
Stark have just been allowed into SMX, and not in America. AMA.
Yes. They're in the FIM Supercross now. That's a really good move.
Playoffs. I think it was the first round last week in the SMX playoffs. I think it was in there as well, but
no, not in the AMA yet. No.
What, for next year, is it?
No, just so it's just the FIM Supercross, and then obviously they was allowed in the Arena Cross. They won last year.
Yeah, I've seen him running that. He won, didn't he?
Yeah, he won as well.
I see that.
So, very competitive bikes, and you speak to the riders. Do you know what I mean? They love them.
Yeah.
And like Simon will agree. Do you know what I mean? There's also health reasons for riders to benefit. Simon, I don't know if you ever get cold finger because of the vibration. Is a lot, and then also hearing. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Paul, listen, you're never certain who's out there watching this back this week or next week or even next month. When people pick this up. But is it a particular person out there, a particular type of person, a particular skill set, a particular industry that that might be of benefit to you to try and unblock the issues that you've described?
I think really, I need some people to come on board and say, look, let's get some money, let's get a race series, let's do a big hoo-ha, let's go for it. Let's sponsor a load of kids, let's get out on track. Or maybe the guys from the SCB I understand. I am very much like, I'm like a bull in a china shop. I'm like a dog with a bone. They're saying, no, we don't want this. And why? What's the reason? Give me, you know what I mean? And I'm attacked. And I think that's where the communications broke down. And I'd love to reopen that conversation. I'd love to have some help. I'd love for the governing body to turn around to me and say, come on, Paul, let's see what we can do. I'm not asking to change. I'm not asking for tomorrow, let's all ride electric bikes and be hippies. I'm asking for the opportunity to be allowed to ride electric bikes side by side, and allow the integration of it, because it is going to happen. Whether you like it or not, it is going to happen. It's already happening now within motocross. You've seen how many, like you said, you've got the kids with the Revies. You've got all these thugs on Surons. They're selling thousands of them. I can't believe no one started a race series for that, to be honest. It's going to happen. Do you want to be behind the wave or in front of it?
Yeah. Because
I'm telling you now, Speedway is going to fall at some point. The average age of a supporter must be 60, 70-year-old. Maybe 50. Unfortunately, the average age for people is 70, 80 years old in the UK. What happens then?
Yeah.
My argument is, I'm not saying that Speedway is going to die tomorrow. The way it's going now, it'll be lucky if you get 10 years out of it.
Yeah.
We need to change.
Yeah. Paul Bowen, very, very powerful words, a very powerful, very informative insight into some of the whys and the wherefores and the potential benefits, and maybe even the inevitability of e-speedway becoming much more of a thing in motorsport generally. And to your point, Paul, why and how would we expect speedway would be the only motorsport discipline that would resist modernisation and technology and all those good things. But listen, 360 Spaces, hopefully you too have found that a highly informative discussion. My thanks to Paul for giving up some of his time just to kind of talk us through that, provide some of that subject matter expert knowledge that Paul has. We'd be super interested in your views. Paul will expect there'll be some negativity in some of the feedback. I would anticipate that too. But can you see where Paul's coming from? Do you buy into some of the potential advantages and benefits for the sport? And might e-speedway yet be the salvation of speedway in any form as we know it? Paul Bowen, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.